Okay, so let's get started.
NASCAR.
What do you guys think? So, notes. Let me open up the notes here. So let's prove to Juno that we can run sessions better when he's not here. Who's with me?
I'm with you.
So we're not too good with the comments. I'm like, not the comments again.
Plan.
So the first one, which one are we gonna talk about first? Right from the top, growing
Do
motivation?
you want me to
Sure.
go
Just
through
give-
my list?
So I guess the format is give the executive summary of
Yeah.
of why you put it there, what you think that means, and
Okay.
elaborate on, and then we all just kind of chime in.
Yeah, I think
Sure.
so.
Yeah, that sounds
I
great.
think I actually put the motivation one. I think
Yeah.
you put something about
Okay, are
motivation.
these
Yeah,
in
so
the notes?
Maybe you could lead. And,
Yeah, I'll talk about growing motivation.
Okay.
So, one of the things that I noticed as I talked to more and more leaders was the fact that people said, my team is tired. Nobody wants to do anything. Or they're frustrated, or whatever it happens to be. So I
Scroll up.
I rummaged around. Well, I remember some things that I'd been taught, and then I wanted to find a really cool source of information about the skills needed, the people skills needed to motivate people. And there's basically like 5 things that every leader needs to know. And those 5 things were, know what motivates the people you lead. So that breaks down to whether they're being motivated by social acceptance, whether it's ego-driven,
What people need to be motivated. Okay.
whether it's ego-driven, whether it's following their dreams, whether their goals are financially motivated, and, find out what you can give people that are in your teams, how you can write those motivational paychecks so they don't bounce. So you got to know what drives them. So if it's social acceptance, or maybe they're just wanting thank you, or maybe, you're stroking their ego a little and making them feel good. Whatever it happens to be, just sort of get to know. And I don't think a formalized survey needs to happen, but so it's just how you get to know the people that you lead. And then believing in those people. You got to believe.
Okay, so is that 2?
Yeah,
Step 2?
number 2 is you have to believe in the people you lead. You want to say that? Okay. You have to, believe in those people, because they know that we've all had, I hesitate to use the word bosses, but in some way, we've all had somebody in a position of leadership that we followed who we knew didn't believe in us. And if you've ever had a leader that you knew did not believe in you, it is really demotivating. So, truly believe in them. People know when you're insincere. Number 3 is...
Wait, where's this? Is this from a book or?
This is a blog post I read.
Oh, okay.
So,
According to Amber. Okay. No, I'm just saying, if you're reading books that has this kind of stuff, we should definitely have
and
like a reading list.
it's
or
called,
something.
and one of the things that I'm working on is getting some links to things, and this comes from Proven Ways to Motivate People. It's another site. Make people that you lead feel important.
Jenna just tweeted about how he's at the dentist.
That's fine. So, everybody likes being told they're doing a good job. I mean, obviously if someone isn't doing a good job, you praise in public and you criticize in private is a good way. Sometimes people need to be criticized in public.
Okay.
Sometimes they don't. The 4th one is...
Wait, what was the 3rd one?
The 3rd one is make people you lead feel important. And then the 4th one is lead your followers by example. So lead by example.
Yeah.
And then you want to, the 5th one is you want to inspire versus require. And so you want to be the inspiration as a leader. You don't want to have requirements. You don't want to make anything, as you lead, you don't want to require people, I guess, be the change you want to see. So if you want to make changes, be that change. Make people feel like they can follow you and make them get inspired by what you're doing so they'll want to follow you. And will be a good break because Rick just walked in and we can come back to the motivational topic.
Okay.
So
Speaking of motivation.
Yep.
Yeah.
So we're gonna
I wasn't subscribed, I'm sorry.
we're gonna
we're here all day.
We're gonna pause on the growing motivation because Rick just came in, and Jono added Canonical-community leadership connection to the list this morning in the roundtable.
I'm sorry I'm late.
It's quite all right.
And Jonah's at the dentist.
He just tweeted, we're like, haha.
We're going to skip down to that since we set aside 15 to 20 minutes per topic, and since you're here and we know that you're busy, we're going to just skip down to that. And we didn't want to talk about that connection without somebody on the Canonical side besides Jono to...
Sure.
So what are the issues that people have with the Canonical community leadership connection? Because the freak doesn't need to be in here.
It's fine. That's
Okay.
Well, I would, I don't know if I would flip it around and say what expectations exist in the other direction first.
Yeah, what do you...
Because I think we talked about that in some, or what non-expectations exist.
I guess, like, for me, I don't know if it's the community per se or just like the internet in general, but one frustration that I sometimes have is I'll see things like people will like draw a conclusion and blog about it, or some like snit fest will start when there's incomplete information, or even sometimes it'll be very personal. People like ascribe motivation to me, like based on something that I do. It's just like, they could have just asked me. Like, it would have been like a 2-minute conversation on IRC, could have like resolved this whole thing. So sometimes I like, and I don't know why, I don't know whether it's like my personality or my hours, but I don't know why I don't seem accessible to people, because I do, like, I try to be responsive, like, you know, when people, especially like when people ping me in IRC or send me email things in work hours, I try to like prioritize things from people who are in the Ubuntu community above like frankly my other work. So.
What kinds of people are you talking about? People who are kind of known within the community, or are you talking like randoms?
So I get a PM, a private PM on IRC. If I don't recognize it, I'll like respond right away. If it's like somebody like on my team or something and I'm busy, I may ignore it for a while. If I don't recognize it, I assume it's a community member. And even if I can't talk at the moment, I'll immediately give a response like, can you talk to me about it?
So when I'm talking to like my local lug, or for example on the Ubuntu users mailing list earlier, this is a prime example. Someone posted a YouTube video of Unity sucks and here's what's my frustration, and they were perfectly valid bugs of some kind, right? And his first port of call was Ubuntu users, because that's a support community. But all of us who've looked at the video and all of us who've heard him describe the problem know it's a bug, or that there's someone he should talk to. Now I just happened to be sat next to a developer and said, can you look at that? And he looked at it and he's replying to that mail, which is great. But average Joes don't know that it's possible. They don't know these avenues to get into people.
Oh, he answered
like
your
you.
question because you're Poping you're famous, right?
Well, I didn't answer it. I just pointed to someone else.
Right.
And this is the whole conversation we had the other day. You know, people don't know who to ask in the inner circle, as it were. They just don't know who to go to. And they don't. I don't think they realise how accessible you guys are. And they may well have had past experience, such as, you know, like Jono blogged some years back when he had a problem with Myth TV, jumped to the Myth TV channel. Hey, I've got a problem, and their first response was get the source from, you know, CBS or whatever. You know, get lost until you've done that. And so some people have this feeling that there will be a massive barrier. If I ask you for a bit of help, you're going to speak to me in ones and zeros, and I won't be able to get it.
That's fair. Like, what I wouldn't want to hear is that somebody on my team was snitty or dismissive. That would make me upset.
I don't think that happens
if
too much.
somebody just has bad social skills, like that's, you know, that is what it is. Like,
I think it's more of a perception thing. People know the open source community has been around a while, and they know that if you contact a developer, they'll either tell you to get lost or tell you, send me a patch. You know, and that phrase irritates the hell out of me. Because, you know,
That's the new version of...
that's the ultimate blow off, right?
It is.
Yeah, so but I don't say that. Like very rarely do people actually contact me about technical things. Like, usually it's more like, what's Canonical's intentions here? Or like, who do I talk to? I get a lot of things like, I'll apply for a job, what's happening with it? I get, stuff, well, like people from the flavors community might feel like we're not embracing their flavor enough, and they'll ask me questions about it, and sometimes I don't have good news for them, but.
See, the thing is, I'm lucky. I've been to UDS and meet you guys. I know you're a really friendly bunch of guys who want to answer questions and will engage with people, but people out there don't know. They just don't get that you're.
Well, they don't know about UDS and stuff like that. And
No,
so,
they
like,
don't
they
know
don't.
the
They
process.
think the Canonical developers decided
Yeah.
to do something, and it's like, yeah, actually, that's someone working.
So what I think when it says Canonical Community Leadership Connection, as part of Canonical, what do you expect from community leaders? What would you like for us as leaders
I
to
see.
better help or better facilitate some of this?
I think the most important thing that the community leadership, to me, your most important job is being stewards of the code of conduct. And that's making, using that as guidance for the way people in the community are behaving and contributing. And when I say community in that sense, that includes people who work at Canonical. So, like I've said it before, I'll say it again. Like when you work on Ubuntu, like paid by Canonical to work on Ubuntu, you are part of the Ubuntu community. It's like, that's not a negotiable, thing. That's part of your job. But, so I think, using that as guidance, the code of conduct for resolving conflict or for helping people contribute productively, I think that's the most important thing you can do. So if somebody's being trying to give feedback, but they're doing it in a non-productive manner, just help use that to coach them, for example. Does that answer your question, Amber?
It does, and I know we talked a lot in other sessions about making sure that we, as leaders, we're going to update some pages like I emailed you about to make sure the team's pages are correct, make sure that contact information is correct. There's some things on our side we can do to collaborate with you all and facilitate that and make sure that's known. And I know other people had some concerns earlier in the week about Canonical and community and that relationship. Is there still anything left unsaid that we still need to cover in that?
So the problem is, Canonical's a big company, right? So I'm the director of engineering for Ubuntu engineering, which is a significant part of your world if you're in the Ubuntu community. But there's a ton of stuff that Canonical does that has a big impact on the way Ubuntu is used and perceived that is outside of my domain.
I reached out to Jerry earlier this week, and I talked to Liz a little bit about that. So the communications team is going to be interacting with the news team more to get those corporate
That's
messages
great.
out. So that's going to happen, so we can get all that news out on our official sites. So that's going to happen. So we've made that connection and established that. I think Liz has gone to many of the design.
Yeah, design team's we're gonna cross post some.
And that's going to happen. And so I'm not sure that we haven't covered most of the major areas. Jane made some great suggestions to the community council about how to involve teams and that sort of stuff. So is there anything?
So I would add to that, you should be aware that a lot of people are really afraid of what they consider the community, and they're really they're worried to put things out there because they see the way we get treated sometimes, and they don't always understand what's really part of the Ubuntu community, what's the open source community in general. Frankly, people who should not even be considered part of the community, they just delight in roiling people and stuff. Not everybody has the emotional constitution to deal effectively, and feel good, to deal with that kind of thing. So some people, not everyone chooses, when you work on Ubuntu, you work in a fishbowl, right? You can go see Jason Warner's team meetings. You can watch him interact with his team on IRC. That's a significant personal risk that he takes. he doesn't mind taking it because like he can filter, you know, out. But not everyone is like that. So I guess like a big favor that you could do for me personally would be to work with other people in Canonical to slowly but surely like reach out to them and like be the face of the community that is, you know, gives you a second chance if you misstate something and doesn't ask for clarification before you rail on them publicly and like
Build some relationships, some more personal relationships
Yeah.
with
and expect it to go slowly. It's
Yeah.
like I'm thinking of people in support and sales and
Yeah.
different parts of that. Like there's a lot of people who do engineering that's really important to the Ubuntu community. They do it on behalf of OEMs. And like they can't talk about their jobs, right? Because there's just like people who are paying them to do work, which like, you know, one OEM doesn't want them to know. It's all free and open source code. It all ends up in Ubuntu, and it means if you buy one of those computers later and you upgrade Ubuntu, it works. Like there's an engineer who did that work who maybe is not getting the kind of accolades because they're not working public, you know, like if like slowly build relationships with those kinds of people so that they can.
So the community builds up a trusted network of those folks, as well as you all that are accessible and can talk about your...
Yeah, so, and I actually push a lot within Canonical, like, you should be talking more, you should be blogging, like, you have business goals, if people knew those business goals, they would help you. But the response I often get is, no they wouldn't, I would just get flamed, you know, so.
So I think some of it is, we talked earlier, like the first half of the week, about what we as community expected from you all, and I think it's good to now reach out to, and I say you all, meaning Canonical, to those leaders and managers at Canonical to see what you expect from us. I think the communication is a two-way street, and we were traveling one way earlier this week, and this is now the other direction. This is where the community sort of said, this is what we expect from you. We're now like reaching out to Jerry and his team saying, hey, we want to communicate more, and building that. You know.
I think me personally, I've said, you know,
That was Rick.
an awful lot with the folks in IS or Launchpad as an example. Those folks are brilliant, but I would really appreciate if they blog more about what the stuff they're doing, because they do a phenomenal job. So Matt Butler, Curtis Harvey, I met him yesterday. You know, I've been working with him on bugs, and at times he said no, he won't fix, and it's frustrating. But yesterday I got to meet him in the corridor, chatting face to face, and we resolved a bug that it's been going back and forth for 18 months, which is a long time for a bug. And the folks in IS, you know, being here this week, it's great just to pop in and talk to James and going, can you help resolve the issue? But the folks in IS don't blog. But it'd be great if they did. And get to know, put a face to it, you know, because when they make changes, and the same with Launchpad, you know, when they make changes, they want kind of feedback from instructors, put a face to a name. Like the lads in the design team are doing a great job on that. I think that's something they've changed from 12 months ago. You know, when they make a decision, you know, they're photo blogging the decision, they're sticky notes, how it's led from one decision to the next decision, so people can get an idea of how that decision was made, rather than going, boom, change is made, there you go,
Right.
good luck. Which is hard to understand because you don't understand the mentality. You don't know there's a team of 12 people that have come to that decision. And then I can understand why the community get a bit cranky, but I don't like the way their attitude is sometimes. That I don't appreciate or, you know, respect. That's not on at all. And I can also understand it then from a Canonical point of view, going, why would we want to put ourselves out there if the flaming is going to happen? But I think you have to put yourself out there a little bit more and repeat it and start building up a trust, and then it'll actually benefit us all in the long run, to be honest. And if that could be kind of conveyed to them, I think it would help.
Sure. I mean, I repeat that message often. But.
And yesterday, what did we say? We're going to put which blog is it we're putting on the planet?
Oh, the,
Voices.
no,
No, not Voices.
The main Canonical.
Yeah, so that will now go as a feed on,
Oh, interesting.
yeah.
Is that a work item? Who has that one? I didn't see that
It
one.
was a community
It was a
council.
community council.
Oh, okay.
Is there any, like, I know it sounds like you covered it earlier in the week, but I mean, do you guys, like, since I'm here, do you guys have, like, any other questions for me, or what?
I have a few that I want to ask you. You did.
Go
I'm
ahead.
not allowed to.
No, you
You
are.
work for
It's
me.
just-
Shut your face.
Yeah. Because I haven't talked to you in so long. Okay.
Do you? So you're starting to do a lot more of the like traditionally like Ask Mark, it's like Ask the Ubuntu Engineering Director. In IRC, where you're directly engaging users. How do you feel those are going? Like, do you think those are okay? Should we try to?
Yeah, I don't feel like anyone comes and they don't ask me interesting questions.
I think that's promotion. I didn't even know that they were happening.
Okay, so
we-
work item here.
Every time we have them, we blog about them on the classroom blog, which goes to Planet.
And I usually pick it up on my blog and it goes to Planet. And then
I think the problem we're having is, again, the on-ramp problem. Where are the users going when they run Ubuntu? Where do they go? They're generally not going to these properties that we care so much about. They're getting whisked away into channels we don't really care about.
Yeah, but
So-
there's some things we can
We
do,
can do
right?
some
I could have had
stuff in our own,
a sticky in the forum in the middle of the Unity mega thread, right? You know, ask Rick Spencer. We could have asked, OMG to, beat the drum. Instead of it's like, hey, we're doing Open Week, everyone should be there. No, by the way, Rick's going to be there on Tuesday.
As long as we're focusing on the edges of our traditional channels, I think
Right,
we'll be
right,
good,
right. Because the Planet,
Planet-
people are going to replanet. They're going to be there anyway. It should be.
So to date, that has not been a drag on my productivity at all. So I
Okay.
don't feel like I've been been dragged. into
Okay,
that
so you're
stuff.
comfortable doing those like
I will
once per cycle or
do
something?
plenty more of them. It's just like the last one just seemed like
So the thing
just
is,
that no one was there. so.
with our blog posts on the classroom, all we do is say your name and what you do, and that's the blog post. We don't have any more information about what you'd be willing to talk about, or any kind of.
Would you
way to
consider
promote
doing
it.
something like what Jonah does with his Ustream Q&A, make it a little more personal and
Sure.
show everyone your smiley face?
If somebody helps me with that.
Yeah.
So I mean,
Am I allowed to give you work items?
there's
No,
that, maybe.
like, but
Jonah
you're
might
allowed
be able
to
to.
interview me or something. Like,
Work
'Cause he does it
with Rick on a multimedia QA thing.
And what about just adding, instead of just what you do, because again, I think as we're talking about the fringes, like I may understand what you do, but the people coming in that are not a technically savvy user will go, well, what is that guy doing? Why would I care to talk to him? If we link to a description that's a little bit more fuller than just a title, I wouldn't say put it all over the advertisements, but
yeah, I'm not
that
sure
may help get some
that
people
would
in the
like
room.
really that interesting to talk to be honest. I'm just like,
That could be in
Yeah.
the splash page
Yeah.
for your session. I'm not that interested. But come and talk to me.
Yeah.
you said you have many questions.
yeah. So,
No, that was, it was one question in multiple parts, so I'm good.
no, I'm sorry. Did you just stop because I laughed at you?
No.
Okay.
Is there anything else since Rick is here?
So on the Canonical page, or on the Ubuntu.com/community, you can find all the information about Planet Ubuntu, the artwork, how to get involved, documentation, governance. And I wonder, is it like a wise idea maybe to put a link on the Canonical.com page somewhere to click on to like that? So people buy Ubuntu, they know it's from Canonical, but yet they know nothing about the community that comes from there. So
Talking about this page?
I don't know that Ubuntu.com/community
Yeah.
has all the information, but I don't know how you get from Canonical.com to that page. And again, you're kind of increasing kind of the people who buy Ubuntu.
I think it wouldn't hurt to do that. One thing I've noticed in a lot of people that join the community where I am, they don't know Canonical's behind Ubuntu.
Yeah.
They don't
I
know
think
it.
Canonical's
And
the
it
boring
just blows
part.
my mind that they don't know that. But it's not a lot of visibility.
At all.
No, they're brand new. They came from Windows, right?
Yeah, I have to, when I talk about Canonical, what do you mean Canonical?
Yeah, what's
They think
Canonical
it's
and
the
why should I
word.
care? Kind of
I
thing.
go, isn't that the shape of an alien's head?
But I still think Laura's suggestion has a point of validity, because
Yeah.
even some people that don't, if some people do,
Right.
and that's where, the blogs from the Canonical community are going to be, then we should have something that points them to the plan. Because if they do come to this site, there's no way for them necessarily to get there very directly.
Yeah.
And speaking about the community page in general is getting a redo.
But as
So.
Rick just said, like, more and more OEMs are kind of selling computers and laptops, and there's little stickers coming into you just search Canonical. It's going to come there, and it'd be nice to kind of drive them kind of to learn more about it, and there's no way from there. to
Sure.
get, like,
I mean, Canonical owns that webpage, so I think they would just evaluate like whether that would be good for their business or not. And
And then as of last night, like, on the community council, we've taken an action item to put, is it voices or is it Canonical?
Canonical blog, not
Blog
voices.
on top of Planet Ubuntu, so again, if you get more information about from people, so kind of having it both places and increase the readership.
of course, my blog goes to Planet. I just haven't blogged in like.
I'm not entirely convinced people go to Canonical, okay, so people don't go to Canonical, why do people go to Ubuntu.com? What is the motivation for going to Ubuntu.com? I know the motivation for going to YouTube, Facebook, Google. Why would I go to Ubuntu.com?
Yeah.
I
went to
can't see why users do that.
To be honest, those are like both like canonical properties that they use for like those are like those decisions that they make about those sites are like very business oriented.
No
So I'm
plan.
sure like there's a team called the comms team that owns it. I'm sure they would be happy to talk to you folks about it. But I don't.
So my point is, I don't see that we're going to achieve much by putting a link on either of those sites.
Yeah, I agree.
We need to go where they go. And like with George, like people go to Reddit, people go to YouTube. There are these places that people go. We should go there and talk to the people where they go.
Sure.
So people
Instead of being like, how come no one's reading Planet?
But how do we find out, because in one of our other sessions, we talked about gaining metrics. So how are we going to gain some sort of data that helps us make that data-driven decision on where people are?
Facebook.
You know,
How many
because
people
otherwise
like
we're just
Ubuntu?
kind of guessing.
I know Rick is in here, but we have all these other topics and stuff,
okay.
so
Yeah,
we're sort of derailing it off the leadership
We got a whole
connection.
another 2.5 hours.
I know, but
Okay.
we're following
I think
Bacon's plan
Your
here.
point is I don't, I think. Is there, okay, so, I don't know. I try to be really open to feedback and input about like how my team's working and what we can do differently. So is there anything else that you guys want to discuss while I'm here?
I think we got some really great feedback on what we as leaders can do to help facilitate changing some of that culture, and I think that's going to be great for us as we leave here to go back and develop those relationships and build those relationships and let our circles know, funnel our circles into that as well, to those relationships. And then, George is going to, I guess, work with you, and then we'll, work with the communications team and other teams to make sure that we're following them and working closely with them to get their messages out as well.
But I think it's important to play off of what Poppy said, that we spider web it.
Yeah.
Those of us that are here understand you're very approachable. Mark's very approachable. Jane's very approachable. Everybody's very approachable in the company. But we do have to make sure that we give that information to other people so that they get that. Because if they're not here to know that, we're the only way that message gets out.
I'd much rather be in the position that I'm just filtering feedback because I'm getting overloaded with communication from people in the community. I would love that to be a problem.
Okay.
So,
We can make it happen.
I can tell you 1,000 times. And thus the Spam Rick project was
yeah.
A daily conference
I
call.
don't get spam, but, okay. Is that it? All right.
Thanks very much.
Thanks, Rick.
Sure, you guys. Thanks for inviting me. Ask me anything. I want to put
Okay, so we have a few more minutes left in this hour. I guess we could go back to,
So what, finish off the motivation
Yeah.
part?
so earlier before Rick came in, I was going over 5 motivating people skills. So I'll just go back to the list. It was know what motivates people you lead, believe in the people that you're leading, make the people you lead feel important, lead your followers by example, and don't put requirements on your team members. Instead, try to inspire them. You can make people do stuff by requiring them to do it, but if you can inspire them, you'll get a lot more done.
Especially in a volunteer organization.
Exactly. And these are skills based on volunteer needs, not corporate needs. And I don't know when this session is supposed to end. What time is it supposed to end?
6 o'clock.
No. I mean, we'll have a break. So at the top of the hour, we'll have a break. So
No, it's 3:45 and then you start again at 4, right?
Yeah.
no, it says here it's 4:15.
So it's 4.
So
okay.
yeah, I got my stuff down straight.
I'll shut up now.
So
Rick, now you.
So those are those 5 skills that I think I wanted to talk about, because I think some leaders were asking about how do we motivate our teams when, sometimes it's a matter of self-motivation, because I know if I'm not motivated, I can't motivate the people I lead. And so sometimes it's knowing if we're just losing motivation, or is it our team that's losing? Are we leading the demotivation?
Right.
Or are we causing motivation? I think we have to stop and look at that. But those are the 5 skills I sort of wanted to mention. So I don't know what you guys think about that.
Like, I mean,
The floor is yours.
I agree with the follow me, because we share that same common past of being in the military, and it's one of those things that you have to know that when you delegate a task to someone, when they want to take on a task, however that happens, you have to give them the tools to do it and let them do it, and don't hover over them, because when you hover or you check in too much, and there's a balancing line there, you impart a message to them that you don't trust them to do it.
You step away from leadership and into the domain of supervision.
Yeah, we talked about this, yeah.
Exactly. One thing I would add to the list that isn't explicitly stated, and maybe it's implied, is that the good leaders that I've encountered have a vision. They set a vision. They tell a story about a future that everyone would like to get to. And I think that's a really important thing in the local community. What do we want our local community to look like? What do we want Ubuntu to look like?
Yeah.
Right? And if we can verbalize that and continually tell that story, people will say, yeah, that sounds really cool.
So a motivating factor that I didn't list to, that you just went over, was have a goal.
Yeah.
Have a personal goal as a leader, but have a team goal as well.
Or just, or a goal, a collective goal about, it doesn't have to be about the team or the individual, just where do we see everything going? You know, what's 3 years down the road? What does that look like? If we could imagine the ideal scenario, you know, everyone in the world uses Ubuntu. Everyone in my city uses Ubuntu. What is that vision? Right.
Yes, you just asked, has this stuff been written down? The stuff that those 5 points that I went over are on my blog. I would have thought you read my blog.
Well, this is what we're talking about is also on the pad.
Yeah, it's on the pad too, but that stuff those 5 points I went over.
So I got a vision for you. A computer on every desktop.
That will never happen. We only need 640K of RAM too. Right.
So what if we have a few more minutes, I think 10 minutes or 5 minutes based on the time I had earlier and now what we've gone back to. What about motivation? Any other thoughts about motivating yourself or people that you lead?
Learn, and I think we talked about it with burnout. When you're a leader and you're experiencing burnout, you need, and then we're going to go into that under self-assessment, but understand when you're getting to that point that you're not able to motivate the troops going forward, and pull back. And I think talking about having a goal, sometimes you can lead from the back and you listen to what others are dreaming, and then you help put them in the place so that they can take their dreams and put them in action in the community. When I introduce people to Mark Shuttleworth and I listen to it, he asks them what their interests are and what they're doing in Ubuntu, and then turns that around and gives them a compliment in that involvement. He doesn't talk about what he wants them to do. He finds out about what their interests are and harnesses their interests and their dreams.
He inspires them to continue doing what they're doing.
And he has a very crisp vision.
Yeah.
Right.
He does.
Take free software to the masses. People can understand that.
And I think it's a vision people can see.
Right.
And as we as leaders, do we have visions that people can see?
Exactly. One that's not on there, it might be a little bit of housekeeping, but I'll mention it anyways, is praise in public, correct in private.
Yeah.
I think that we tend to, I don't know.
John just tweeted, he said that it appears English dentists aren't all that good.
So in building the culture that we talked about the other day, in building a culture of recognition and support, I think it's important to always praise in public.
Yeah. And I've been guilty of public criticism too, and to individuals, and I had to go back and say,
You apologized to me in public. I was like, for what? Well, I have to read 5 pages of your blog for something that you made up or something, and I'm like,
but
I didn't really care actually.
But as a leader, if you screw up, and there are times where you and I might have a relationship, and you're like, it's just Chaz, or I'm like, it's just George. But if the people in the community take that as, wow, that was a major thing, then a public apology sets the tone to the community, and we need to take advantage of that as opposed to, it's just him, and I understand. Yep.
yeah. So, hope you get ready to say something.
When we had this discussion in CC, one thing that I was speculating on was that actually some people are getting demotivated because they've been working with the same people for 7 years. And in the workplace, leave, when you get another job for numerous reasons. And one of the things about doing your job is you kind of have to get on with the people you're working with. And in the community, it's a volunteer thing. And you don't have to get on with the people you're working with because you can just leave. And there's no financial problem. You're not going to lose the money to pay your mortgage because it's a volunteer community. So I think it's easier for people to leave than obviously leave their job. But the reason why can be very similar. Just getting sick of the site.
The last time was valid. Praise in public, criticize in private. That's a very good rule, type of rule. But I like to emphasize that you need to be very sincere when you do that.
Yes.
Because if you are not sincere, then people leave out. They don't trust you anymore.
I mean, people can tell, and I said it, gosh, probably 2 years ago. I said, I can't understand your tone or your attitude or your gestures or body language over IRC or in an email. I can't understand that. But the more I get to know people, the more I can. You know, the more that we're building up that relationship, the more you sort of understand. But a word use, maybe somebody changes a word in something how they normally say something, and you get the idea. But you don't know that sometimes, and people can tell even in an IRC chat, even in an email, even in those flat conversations, if you're sincere or if you're insincere. And I think that's a really good point. Whether you're praising or whether you're criticizing, people can tell if you're just going through the motions of it. So, you know, be sincere.
Plus, people might not know that, like, what our relationship is, so they might come into the channel and be like, wow, this is really unfriendly, when it's really just us, like, being ourselves, right?
Yeah.
But I'm trying to be better about that.
Me too.
Not really.
I am. I'm trying to be better than that.
Now we're just confused everyone. But basically that.
I think one of the... Amber, you wanted to say something like this on it? No, I saw you were showing something. One of the things that I think is important in leadership is its ability to deal conflicts. Conflicts with inside this community, conflicts outside. Well, conflicts in which the community is involved, and conflicts inside the community.
So to lead your way, or lead the way out of conflict.
Yeah, you have to
right.
lead, you have to.
Right.
So the conflict doesn't engulf the entire
Yeah.
community, right?
And I think that falls under, for this conversation, to lead by example. Like when you have a conflict, when you are in the middle of a conflict, whatever that happened, you know, wherever it's happening, as leaders, if we don't know how to handle it, we reach out to other trusted leaders and go, how do I handle this and find a good way? Or we need to figure out a way to move that conflict. So one of the ways, the only way I know is to give an example, and I'm sorry, I'm pretty big on metaphors or an example, so I'll try to keep it as short as possible. When I was in the hotel industry, which is customer service, forward-facing customer service, the worst thing that ever happened to me, this guy paid a lot of money for a weekend, we couldn't refund his money, and his kid didn't graduate, he came in for a graduation weekend, but basically we had a lobby full of about 500 people standing, checking into a hotel like we did when we came here to UDS. The guy was making a scene, big conflict. I offered him free dinner, offered him a lot of things, tried to bring a resolution about. Finally, I grabbed the guy by the arm and pulled him into a bell closet and said, I've given you everything I can except my blood. Which diffused the situation.
You're going to beat the crap out of him.
No.
So then I punched him in the face.
No. And what happened was he was so frustrated, he just kept on. And because there was a crowd around, they were watching. And I just grabbed him by the arm and pulled him into a bell closet, which was not the most professional thing for me to do, but it diffused the situation very quickly with a little bit of humor. And sometimes we have to know when to just grab somebody. And I don't mean physically grab somebody, I mean like grab the conversation and move it. Take it out of the public limelight. And that's what I did at that point. I moved it from a very public place to a private place to finish it. And we have to know as leaders when to go stop. We're not having this anymore right here. We're going to move this. And I think that's what, sort of what you were saying, is to know when to say stop. time out, let's
You
do
know,
this.
how to resolve that? How to resolve a conflict? It could be to take it to another place. It could be to discuss privately with people. It could be to lead by example, to refuse to enter in some conflict and say, okay, to the team, okay, we've been at that point, we know it's false. We can have one just voice to say, okay, we can publicly say, we have been accused of that, this is not true. I can tell you many stuff. For instance, I have just one example in my head. We've been with Ubuntu friends. We went to an event. Well, actually, I was not the one on it, but we went to an event as Ubuntu friends, and there was a radio show. And during the night, it was an event with quite a lot of alcohol. And during the night, some of the guy in the radio show started to test Linux distributions. And one of the guy, I'm sure Philip will remember that, and one of the guy who was the radiation imager started to test many stuff, including OpenSUSE. And in the end, the first OpenSUSE CD they tried failed, the second failed, the third failed. And so the guy took his lighter and said, okay, they're useless, I will burn them. And there was next to him a guy from Ubuntu friends. And the guy was just sitting there, but he didn't know what to do. It was quite late, it was 4 in the morning, a bit of alcohol, and there were pictures taken of it. And the days after that, on French forums, you could see Ubuntu friends burning OpenSUSE CD.
Yeah.
And the guy, I won't say who he is because he's quite famous, but the guy in France said, I didn't know what to do, and okay, I will resign and everything. So I went to talk to the people from Ubuntu. I explained them the situation. We made like a statement saying we don't agree with that. It was just here is what happened. Before people start to take the situation and say anything at all. So we decided in that case to put clearly the crisis on the public place.
Right.
To say it aloud. This is what happened really, and this is how we feel. We like OpenSUSE and we do stuff with them, but
And sometimes it is. It's reclaiming that and just facing it head on. And again, you knew your audience. You knew the people that you led, and that gets back to knowing who you leading by example, which you did, all those things. So and it was really good that you did that.
I can give you a example where I felt completely, and I really think the thing that strikes me the most for the last years is that there has been a conflict going on and still going on in Ubuntu friends between people, and I've been completely, I felt completely, and I'm trying to resolve it right now because the way I was trying to deal with it failed. So I'm trying another thing.
So
And taking stuff privately.
yeah.
So I think there is not one way to do stuff.
Exactly.
And this is where I think that being a leadership and is something where you have to deal with some stuff that can help you to navigate on the right direction.
Yep. And I think that's what we're trying to do. But we're about
there.
we're about
at our
there.
break.
and-
Short comment.
Yeah.
There are going to be some disputes you can't resolve.
Clearly.
And then what you have to do is try to figure out how is the best way to make this dispute or disagreement or whatever have the smallest amount of impact on the situation.
Yeah, it sounds to me
and
like you did
isolate.
exactly what
Yeah.
Yep.
I would have done. I mean, sometimes I think it's funny, like when we go to user events and stuff, people are like, ooh, there's a guy in a Red Hat shirt over there. You guys gonna fight? I'm like, no, we're probably gonna have beer later though. And then, like it totally like diffuses the situation. Like the person has nowhere to go at that point, right? They're like, do you hate that guy? No, he's a good friend. And then like they have nowhere to take the
I don't know
argument.
if you remember, George, but a long time ago, the former leader from Ubuntu Friends, a few days before a French event, said on a local contact list, fuck you, Canonical.
That's awesome.
So right before we take a break, I don't
Keep it classy.
Yeah,
Former
exactly.
Ubuntu
And
France guy?
He said that many times. And at the end, when we saw this email, I was on the RSC, and this guy was still the leader for Ubuntu France. And maybe something like 2 weeks after that, I was going to be the next leader. And I went to talk to Daniel and tell him, okay, just investigate on the canonical side. I will do that on the Ubuntu France stuff.
Yeah.
And at the end, the patient was over, and the debate was over, and everything was clear. But
Okay.
So, we're gonna take a break here in just a few minutes, but I wanna hold off on this one, just because I've done a lot of talking. So how about we shoot for leadership, community council, and how we grow leaders in the next hour? So whoever put those on the wiki page, just be prepared to talk about them after the break. Leadership futures, role of community council, and how we grow leaders. So just kind of think about, that's what we're shooting for this next hour, so we know what we're talking about when we come back in. So does that make sense?
Yep.
All right, like a plan. So,
I'm too tired to like move. I'm like,
nobody wants to get up.
I went on that session and they were just kind of like staring at the wall. I think they're having motivational problems.
You were so funny.
I'm gonna call Bacon and see what's up.
The tweet said, I'm leaving, I'm escaping the dentist now.
Okay.
Apparently, English dentists aren't all that good.
Wow.
Yeah, I looked up in there, man. I was like, whoa. Let me get my.
That was a little bit longer than I expected, but since Rick was in here, we
I thought you said you changed it to the that far.
I changed
To France.
Yeah, on Team Post, I did that.
You know, right after that is when, like, Fedora, I remember when that happened, because the Fedora community got involved, and,
Sorry, I haven't heard
I'm sorry. I remember that incident that you're talking about, shortly after that, the Fedora community, yeah.
The fellow I was mentioning was OpenSUSE.
Yeah, but then the Fedora community picked up on it, and they,
Oh,
yeah.
okay.
Yeah, so, yeah, I remember that happened. You handled it exactly how I think any of us would have handled it. Like, I want to move to France. I want to move to Vancouver. I want to find some, the UK.
You already said you're coming to Vancouver.
Yeah, well, I know. I want to go. There's 3 areas I want to, 4. I want to go to California, Vancouver, France, and the UK. Just because I love the UK podcast.
Is the new thing.
And Poke's not paying.
Yeah.
But it's
It's not, I thought it was done. The one where you can override stuff.
Correct.
Yeah,
Yeah, that's what that is.
that's what I am to do. But when I do that, that's what I did yesterday. I'm quite sure it was okay yesterday.
It's like earlier where you showed me the screen. I have no idea what that says.
I'm quite sure I did that. I did
Yeah,
that
see, it's not
yesterday.
changing.
I did that yesterday. And it turned back again to Ubuntu that. But I changed it yet. I did that already yesterday.
I'll follow up on it.
Because I didn't want to change it on Launchpad because it will have so many stuff. That's what we said yesterday. When I heard you said that there was a way to change it just only the display name
But you have access to it.
because I'm on Canonical console.
Correct.
Chris?
So I talked to Becca.
Oh, no. What did she say?
It's okay. I'm not going to do anything that you can't do. That can't be on the. So I was like, yeah, it's necessary. You know,
It is colder in this room than it is out there.
Did you see the heels my mom is wearing?
Yeah.
She's like, they're this big. She's like,
Yeah, I feel so short, so I have a mask.
So should I wear heels too?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's not happening.
I have a couple pair you can buy.
That's not happening.
Hope you didn't hear what I said. So there's 4 areas I want to visit just because of local people. One is Vancouver. One is California. One is France, and the other is
We do use it.
UK.
No, we won't do it.
Because of the podcast folks.
You're not coming in.
No? You gonna tell them?
Did you notice that you guys were fourth?
No, they,
So,
okay, in no particular order. How about that? Yeah, she wants an IRC account, and I haven't made it for her yet.
I can do that.
Go do that for them.
She wants one like now?
Yeah, she's supposed to be RA Grainer and Matt's MGG Grainer.
Do they have laptops?
No.
Then how am I supposed to make an account? What does it matter?
Well, we can get them.
except for late for dinner. Call me anything but late for dinner. I'm doing better this year, but I'm getting there. That's right. Unfortunately, I scored a lot of these. I didn't want to do it.
John was back sitting on the plane.
Is he?
Yeah.
So he can finish this thing.
I'm putting myself up. No, either I'm making.
Amber's like,
Exactly that's what I'm going to do.
I've done 17 interviews, and I am,
We all hope it's just a, that we didn't get too deep.
So we have a new lexicon.
Okay?
We have a new lexicon.
Okay?
Can't. I just put it on the planet before this session,
Coffin.
based on our discussion at
The
lunchtime.
growing tree. I saw part of it. I can't read it while I'm taking notes. You want to switch his head?
I've been taking some notes. I don't mind taking some notes. And I know George has been taking notes.
Well, no, I mean, you want to display.
Yeah, put it up there. Sure, why not?
Is everyone going home?
Let's get people talking about it. No one's commenting on it.
No, I mean, do you want to switch and use your computer to display?
Hey, Cheesehead, where's your IRC nick come
No,
from?
no.
Are you from, where's Cheesehead? Wisconsin?
buddy.
Is that why it's Cheesehead?
He's doing jumping jacks.
Come on, he can't stop doing jumping jacks. He's doing the military kind too. 1, 2, 3. 1,
Milwaukee.
2, 3.
George
2.
knows all about that.
Yeah, I know.
1, 2, 3. 2, 3.
Oh, my back hurts.
Yeah, I told Randall there seems to be a high number of military folks in the Ubuntu community.
Milwaukee.
George, you're getting old. This comes from somebody's birthday last week.
Yeah, at least I'm not 56 or however old you are.
See, now
See, that's a comment that,
kids.
taken out of context, would have demotivated someone in the IRC chat.
You've been talking to my kids.
Yeah, all those potential 56-year-olds
Well, I met
don't want to
Matthew.
join us
Milwaukee,
anymore.
did you see that?
Did you?
Pope?
Yeah.
Isn't it
Milwaukee?
funny?
Which is how
I have no
comical
idea
for.
Nice guy.
where Milwaukee is.
Milwaukee is away from anywhere sensible to live.
Tell him to move to Madison.
Move out of Milwaukee and then you won't.
Or better yet, Cheesehead, do you know where Pembine is? I don't know what.
Screen on lock dialogue makes me want to kill myself. I hate it.
Pembine is almost all the way to the UP, but it's
Okay,
still
George, you
inside
keep talking about
Wisconsin.
killing yourself today. I'm kind of worried now.
Nah, I'm always like that.
Yeah.
We should have Ubuntu suicide.
The only thing that's not,
built into
the only thing you're not talking about killing yourself over is Ask Ubuntu. You seem jazzed about that.
Which I'm actually physically killing myself over too, because like my fingers hurt and stuff. I should find a better crutch term that probably upsets people to talk about.
It worries me.
Like when I use the wiki, I want to gouge my own eyeballs out with rusted spoons. That's how much I hate the wiki.
We gathered that many cycles.
We deleted a lot of bad stuff, dude.
I took your pledge.
Popey's deleting mailing lists and stuff. It's working out.
No, I mean, there was a time at Wine where we didn't have a wiki, and we instead had like source controlled documentation. And I assure you that's worse.
It's worse.
So you
At
work
least-
for Wine at one point? Or developed for them?
He is wine.
He's the one.
You are
Wine.
Wine?
I is wine in Ubuntu.
Which is good
Don't
'cause he
ask my
loves
son
wine.
about wine. He'll drag you to a computer, show
Now,
you all his
what's
problems.
the one that
Yeah.
uses wine to build on? Is that Play on Ubuntu or Play on
There's
Linux?
Play
or
on
something?
Linux and Wine Tricks.
Tried that once and I got very frustrated because it didn't work, and then I didn't really know how to use wine.
Yeah, I don't deal with Play on Linux and.
So I was like, I better learn.
The hit about wine is a
Actually
headache
make
in the morning the next day.
That is the problem with wine.
So, you know, we created the wiki and we moved every piece of static content we had to the wiki. It's just been, it's not great, but it's better.
I know no one's looking for extra work and no one's going to volunteer for this, but have you considered just creating a graph of how many wiki pages we have and watch that graph grow or shrink? I mean, if we want to set a goal to
We should be able-
ourselves with a wiki, let's graph it.
We should be able to run
And
a
make it
spider.
live.
Changing the battery out?
Make it live.
What
How
I-
many pages today?
What I really
Kill a
want,
page.
what I really want to do is first import this homegrown script from like 2005. Like we'd have to actually make an effort. We're talking about like,
versus the effort that we made just to upgrade Win. Because that wasn't exactly the easiest of
yeah,
things to
it's
do.
definitely a pain point, but
If Wikipedia can use Ubuntu, then we can use Wikipedia.
yeah.
It's not that,
Go ask Elmo, say, George thinks that you think MediaWiki's okay. He'll go, fine, whatever.
every time I've talked to them, they've said they won't go to something that's PHP.
I don't think that's true. Especially when it'll be a nice charm. Shove it up in the cloud. Oh no, it's getting slow. Add unit, add unit, add unit. Oh no, it's fast. Please, it's too fast. Okay, delete unit, delete unit, delete unit.
It's loading pages before I click them.
Excellent. Ba-ba-da-ba. Ba-da-ba-ba-da. Screen brightness, not decibel response.
It is quite amazing with UDS, everyone is sort of reliably sick by Thursday.
Did you catch them?
Probably.
Yeah, I heard a lot of people hacking during the plenaries.
Charlene, first date, she was off.
It makes you wonder though why people think scheduling on Wednesday and midweek is better. You know? Monday when everyone's still healthy.
Work management.
You ever seen that while you're on the way?
Good answer. Oh, something I got left. 6 minutes.
But in the HS, I've seen one of those.
What, recorded those?
No, the Microsoft ones. Corded I see every day at school, but all of the stuff we get at school comes from the manufacturers. So we've got HP ones all over the place, Dell myself all over the place.
I went and bought, I'm a professional computer guy, I'm gonna go buy a $50 mouse keyboard combo that's really ergonomic, it works great. And I did, and it breaks in a month. Take it back, replace it with the same one, breaks in a month later, take it back, replace it, and they're like, oh, why don't, maybe you should pick another. And I get another, and this one's got a lifetime warranty on the box. So I go get that, and it breaks in 2 months. The problem with breaking in 2 months is that I can no longer take it back to the store. So I go file an online RMA request and all this crap to mail my mouse and keyboard back. And I'm like, at the end of the day, I'm just gonna get another mouse that breaks in 2 months. So I'm like, screw it, I'm buying a wired mouse. Right.
Yeah, I ended up getting
Microsoft mouse.
I got one of those Logitech
I just buy the
$100
cheapest,
mice.
I just buy the cheapest one per bin.
I need all those buttons.
Thumb trackball. Oh, yeah.
I didn't get the thumb trackball,
Immaculate pointing.
but I have the one where I can press a button on the thumb down, press a button on the thumb up, still have the two buttons on top, the forward and back, have the mouse roller.
Fantastic thing I discovered
Hate the mouse.
even with the Microsoft mouse. When I had to boot into Windows, it's the login screen, and you cannot move the mouse or type, even though it's type your password or whatever. It just does nothing happen because it's loading the keyboard driver for like 2 seconds.
That's terrible.
1, 2, 3.
Actually need drivers for the keyboard.
1, 2, 3, 4. 5 edits. 5 edits during the break. Take that, 5 trolls on the internet.
Actually, Randall plugged me in over there. Hey, David, I'm gonna actually move from the fishbowl, so if you want to come up here. I'm gonna actually move from up here, now that y'all are in here.
Oh, I see.
Jono's back.
You don't want to take my
I want to
spot,
move them
take
back
notes?
so I can heckle now, is what basically you're saying. Isn't it?
I did not say that.
You don't want to display Amber? You can take my spot. No.
I'm worried about what pops up on my screen when I'm inside. Not because it's anything private, but nothing I need.
Great, this morning John projects his laptop up there, and right on his desktop is like a people to hire file. And you can like read the thumbnail text, like and read the first name.
He quickly moved those into a folder.
Yeah, no, it
What's
was,
his name on it? Didn't even know which list it was.
That was not an H, that was an F.
And when you find problems,
Big full
get
Hey,
involved by
Frank.
reporting
Yeah.
about.
Can you star the thing that we said several times and then he knows what we're doing?
Sure.
No ways.
Or, you know, put a red check or something.
So we're gonna do Karen.
Futures,
Talk about this, right?
yeah.
No.
We're gonna talk about, no, that one. And the next one.
Where's the feedback? Need a thumb button here. Button there.
Oh, yeah, I've seen those.
This can free scroll, so it just spins and spins and spins, or you can press that and then it's indented. I became very addicted to multiple mice buttons. I have ComPiz things programmed.
So my mouse as little as possible.
a mouse with more buttons than I've figured out.
I think that came from playing first-person shooter games. Wait, I need a button so I can do team talk.
It's got some absurd default in the OS like that. Do you still bind left and right click simultaneously to teleport?
I think so.
That still like really bothers people who play video games. Like,
Yep.
Yeah, I can never get it right.
I wanted to jump and shoot at the same time.
I have a ThinkPad, so I have a proper. Is that a timeline? Timeline X? Or is that the netbook? UPC?
This is an E.
Just wondering if you were cool.
George, I'm starting to get emails.
About what? I'm subscribed from it, dude.
Uh-oh, she says talking about lexicons.
Yeah. You
That-
feel free to put it on Brainstorm if you want. If you think it's useful.
Go ahead. I don't have that to cut and
No,
paste.
I was talking to Chief.
Oh, all right. Faster wiki. Is that the one that was on Planet?
Yeah.
Oh, someone else's is now superseded yours.
Really? It wasn't a second ago.
Is that the picture of how John lost his tooth?
Maybe they reposted.
The top one there? I don't know what that is.
thought he lost it when I hit him in the face.
Maybe he was playing pool.
I threw a pool ball at his face.
Oh, gee, that's harsh. Welcome back.
We've sat here for an hour waiting.
Luckily, Rick came in, and then we told him that like you left us no guidance, and no, but we did tape the whole
Feel the
thing.
love.
We did tape the whole thing, so you can.
Watch at home and
Watch us.
Someone watching the hour of snide jokes.
We're actually trying to think of stories of how you broke your tooth. There's a
They
list.
involved ACK.
Yeah, there's already been a few
The
people
pillow tower.
insinuating.
The teacher's pillow talk. All right, we can start now.
So what did you cover in the last hour?
We covered the growing motivation, the canonical community leadership connection,
Okay.
and Laura has asked, or not Laura, but Amber has asked not to do leadership self-assessment right away. So we were going to do leadership futures, role of the community council, and how do we grow leaders in the next hour, leaving the other two for.
Would it be
the hour
possible
after
to
that.
do expectations of the canonical community team this hour? Because I have
you got
to
a
jet
session?
for the last session for the Juju.
Sure.
yeah.
Sounds good. Do you want to do that now?
Yeah, let's do
Sure.
it now.
So what are the expectations?
So, I was thinking about this when I saw it written down. Is I think a lot of people mix up community, because I hate that word, with you're the Unity PR guy whose job is to come in here and convince me that Canonical is great and amazing. So I usually have this problem when I'm trying to like resolve conflicts. Like especially when people are talking about Unity or something, then like, well, it's your job to love Unity, therefore you do.
Yeah.
But that's not like what we do. And I think people sometimes mix up, our work is mostly to deal with contributors. You know, not necessarily be there to like hang out with the end users because we have nothing better to do. So I was kind of wondering, maybe, do we even need to be called the Canonical community team, or can it be Canonical contributor team? Or I was just throwing that out, so just brainstorming out loud. It's like, because nobody knows what the word community means, right? People are like, oh, the reason I use Ubuntu is because of the community, because when I Google stuff, I can find it.
It's the online.
A lot of people use it, right? Yeah, and the online thing. So like, it can be frustrating too. Like on Google Plus today, or a few days ago, I posted something and I was having a really good discussion in high discourse, and then it started turning into ranting. So I closed I was like, that's enough, guys. This is done. I closed it, and then someone responded with, you're a member of the Ubuntu community team, and the way people are giving their feedback now is bickering, therefore you're supposed to listen to my bicker, which is like, I don't know what that's all about.
Yeah, I get the impression.
But you know what I'm saying? It's like,
I get the impression that
I'm like now censoring stuff.
So is there a double standard? Is that what I'm hearing? Is the fact that there's a canonical community team creating a different standard than the rest of the community? Are you guys feeling that you're held to a different standard?
I think we are to a degree, and I think rightly so. I mean,
Well, and also people in my loco team or other places, they sometimes don't listen to us regular community team. They want to talk to one of you because you are like the canonical community.
Right.
You're
And then I
like
say, well,
the
did you
real-
talk to Liz? And they're like, why would I talk to her? She's only on the community council.
that's one thing that
It does
frustrates me as well.
happen.
Like anyone who feels like they need to or should desire permission or like a rubber stamp from us, I'd really like to stamp, pun intended, stamp that out. You know.
That'd be nice.
So do you think, as an example, so some of the other open source communities have a community manager, but their team is named differently?
Right.
What actually helped that kind of stop that? So,
Right.
you know, we obviously know we have a kernel manager, a server manager, a desktop manager, so we obviously going to need a community manager. However, the team name itself is a different team.
Right, because in a lot of, I'm not going to mention any name, in a lot of other organizations that have community managers is a booth person and is a PR person.
Yeah, I get it.
Right, that's like, oh, I'm a community manager. I like to stand around in booths all day. Doesn't our job suck? I'm like, dude, what are you talking about? So like,
Yeah.
I do think to kind of differentiate, because I think it might actually help also kind of focus in on the people that are in your team, Jono, that might, because they would then be under you, but still part of the team, but rather than being a community, because it's a Canonical-community team. And I even remember recently reading on your blog post, because you said that, you know, your team is in the Ubuntu-community team, and they were, are you the Ubuntu community team, or are you the Canonical-community team? And I'm going, why are we having this conversation 7 years later? Look,
I think,
well, the reason the teams exist is like, we use that as like our ACLs to get access to like, you know, when I want to like.
I completely agree. I like the channel, and it's a very, very nice channel. It's nice to hang out and relax.
Well, I think, yeah, I mean, while I think that I think changing the name could potentially, I don't think it wouldn't help.
I was just throwing that, I just
Yeah,
had the
it's
idea in the
certainly
hallway,
an
I was like,
option,
whatever.
I get the impression more specifically, it would be good to, because the team's changed a lot over the years.
Yeah.
I mean, when it was just me, it was like, obviously,
Grown and shrunk.
obviously it's like the, you know, the scope of the team has obviously grown much further, but also my responsibilities changed quite a bit. And I was thinking, one piece of feedback I heard from a few people was like clarifying where it stands today could be useful, so people in the community can point to it and say, okay, this is what they do, this is what they're
I
best.
think even kind of having, you know, this is my role, this is my job spec, because jobs change and, you know, roles change, and that is a good thing about communities. Things can change because we introduce new things, so that's a good thing. But possibly saying these are the areas that I look after would be good.
Yeah, I think so, yeah.
And putting the word area rather than my only sole focus, I think is good as well.
Well, I think one of the downsides as well is part of, which I think is to your point, Laura, is some people think that we're here to tend to parts of the community that we actually don't really have time. Like, there's certain parts of the community that are not formal assignments in the team, but we do our best. So there's so for example, Daniel's responsibility is developers. Like, if he doesn't do a good job there, then he's in trouble. But he hasn't got a responsibility towards the docs team or the local teams, as an example. So I think, you know, saying where the areas of focus are, I think could be useful.
So yeah, that's what we call areas of focus, because like, even if you had a page with a who's, kind of like a headshot, this is me, Donna, these are the areas I look at, this is George, I am the cloud person, or this is Daniel, I think it would be actually really good. And face to name areas, it just kind of clears up a whole lot of information. And it's amazing how, because we all know who George is, we know who you are from a photograph, but one page, I'm a bit about pages at the moment.
Particularly as there's going to be 2 new people as well.
Yeah, exactly. I think it would be really good to kind of put that out there. These are the people, this is my team. This is the areas that we're looking after. I think that would clear up an awful lot of stuff, to be honest.
So I have one question as well related to this, which I think is to what Liz was saying as well, is about kind of breaking down this sense of you need to run it through one element is you need to run it through our team, which I don't think anyone should ever do. Like, I see us here as a supporting function. We're very fortunate that we're paid to help grow the community and help with the community, but that doesn't mean we're in charge by any stretch.
Yeah.
So I'd expect people to look to us for guidance, but not for permission, I guess is the way I see it. But one thing I've heard as well, which I just find mind-boggling in a crazy way, is that I have like meetings with certain members of the community, and I heard through the grapevine that sometimes people will infer that if they've got a meeting with me, then they're somehow better than somebody else. Like, you know, I have a meeting with Jono every week, or meeting with George or whoever.
But I have a meeting with Jono every week.
Like, it should be seen as it actually should be seen as a bad thing.
Jono meeting, you can have it.
And I'd really like to break that down, because it's not. I mean, I can understand how some people may feel like it's preferential treatment, but I'd really like people not to see it as preferential.
Have you thought about, instead of having regular weekly calls with certain people, just having more people but less calls, like a round robin, as opposed to a ping pong, ping pong, ping pong?
Yeah.
It's hard to get everybody on, even on when we do the
local, whatever.
Not everybody actually. Not everybody can get on it at one time. We try to bring people in, they call drops, like drops.
I also think it's important too that, you know, in Ubuntu governance structure, like, I'm actually not in a leadership position. So just because I work at Canonical doesn't mean that you have to be like, George, can I run an install fest? I'll be like, who's the local team in that area? And then they go, well, I kind of wanted to talk to someone at Canonical. I was like,
Yeah, that happens all the
okay,
time.
what do you want? A t-shirt? I mean, so, actually, I tried something awesome that I really want to share with people. So I moved down here and I went to a local lug, but I signed up to the list and stuff, and I went to the lug meeting without saying who I was or who I worked for.
You tell me about
Yeah, and I just sat in the back. I just sat in the back, and I was like, it's pretty awesome. So like, they were like railing on Unity and like talking about how like Canonical sucks and it's all about Linux Mint now, and like, and so I found it like really refreshing to like not have to say, hey, we have a Canonical guy coming in, and everyone's sitting there like. So I like kind of sat there, and then throughout the lug meeting and stuff, someone because we were talking about power management, I said, oh, I'll do a power management section next month. They're like, oh, that's really cool. And then in the sign up sheet, I put George at Ubuntu.com or whatever. And then they're like, oh, you work on Ubuntu? I was like, yeah, I just moved down here, for a year and stuff. And then because of scheduling, it got scheduled during UDS, I had to cancel, and I accidentally actually put my Canonical work block. And like, so now I'm really keen on going back to see what the response is. But like, I'm not saying, George tricked this lug into like, doing anything. I'm just saying sometimes it's refreshing to go and get an outside view. Like I can't do that at Ohio Linux because everyone knows who I am, right?
Yeah.
So sometimes it's refreshing to just, wear a Guy Fawkes mask when you go to the next lug meeting or something and just be like, so, what do you guys think about this whole community crisis going over on Ubuntu, and then see what people say.
I think it's not fair because sometimes you just want to be like George, the regular person turning up to an event, rather than George Castor, who works as the community manager in my area.
Yeah.
You just want to be just turning up.
It would be nice to just build a flicker switch and.
And I definitely feel the opposite. People assume I work for Canonical when they realize I don't. They're like, oh, in that case, well, tell her what.
Oh, you don't? Let me be nice to you.
I get this awful lot.
I was about to punch you in the face.
So, one thing I wanted to ask, just related to this, because I guess we've got 5 minutes left, is
we 5 minutes on
in this topic.
Is that we've got, so based on some of the feedback, we're now having our weekly team meetings on IRC, which from what I can tell, people like. If for nothing else, just being able to read the log. And, I said earlier on that, we have assignments for what people can do on the team, but what people's primary job responsibilities are, but where there are these other ones, like, for example, we don't have anyone focused on locos right now, and this is something I'm actively trying to change. Best effort for me was like getting on the phone with Laura and Chris and, and Mike and all the rest of them. So these weekly calls I found very useful, just to help me, if nothing else, just sync up with the community a little bit closer. So Randall and I will, chat regularly, and, Jim Campbell and things like that. But how else can we as a team, given everyone, I think everyone pretty much knows that we're fairly busy, like everybody else, but what can we do to better support What can we do to better support the community? I mean, or what can we not do? What should we stop doing?
George, stop lying, please.
Well, I mean, because you pointed out that, we get this sense of people think of, people who have calls with you as really special. One thing you and I did was we did ours on IRC.
Yeah, that was good.
Worked well and, got good feedback and stuff like that.
Did you like that, by the way? Because I haven't had a chance to tell you. Did you think that was cool?
Yeah, most of it, yeah. So it was, so there was that, and that worked really well, and they're probably, I know there are topics out there where you can't have that sort of public thing, but if there are more calls.
Is that type of meeting in a channel where anyone can join and be a part of, or is it just the meeting?
Yeah.
We did it in the Ubuntu community team channel.
Yeah.
I mean, we didn't do it in the meeting channel, because there's usually a ton of meetings going on there already, but...
We should do it in the channel.
And I don't know, I haven't been part of any of them, so if it's supposed to kind of be a meeting between the two of you, how much outside participation did you get that wasn't necessarily asked for?
There wasn't a lot, was there? I mean, we didn't...
We got useful
Yeah.
outside questions, you know, we
Yeah.
didn't have people coming in asking completely random questions.
Yeah.
You know, and I poked a couple people to let them know that I was talking to you in this channel at that time.
Yeah.
So that, you know, like, Macklin joined in, and I think Alan joined in.
Yeah. It's
And
nothing-
it
Because
wasn't
like ours were
quite loud.
supposed to be right on, it was, this is what we're talking about, and pretty much it. You
Yeah,
know, to
and
keep it short and sweet, and I just don't know how much, I was
We
curious
did
how
that,
much
yeah.
outside interference was.
I think what we
no,
probably want to
we
do
had a
is,
half-hour call planned, and it was
Yeah.
pretty much a half hour, and we got through all of the stuff on the agenda, so.
Something I've started to do too is just randomly hanging out with people for 15 minutes. So one Friday, I'm like, hey, Jason Smith, let's just have a Google hang out and see who shows up, and let's just
Yeah.
That was
do
really
that
fun.
stuff.
That was great fun.
That was
Yeah.
absolutely hilarious. Loved that.
Yeah.
So, with regards to the logo stuff, I will say that our meetings did work. They stopped working though.
they what?
They stopped working, at least for me, from my point of view.
How so?
From the very start it was one-on-one, and I would have an agenda, and it would be fine, we'd turn up. Then there was and we were traveling and off and out there for one point in time, so there was kind of a lot of missing ones.
Yeah.
So then it's kind of hard to get it back into kick into thing. And then we started bringing in the local directory developers, which also meant that I can also talk about certain issues in the teams, and because they're private, we're dealing with mediation issues. So I kind of felt that the kind of call was kind of lost on me, to be honest. And it's kind of like, I didn't mind the lateness at night, but I'd have to sit up for it, and there's not really much I can give or not comment on it.
Right.
So for me,
So maybe what we could do for that in terms of the logo stuff is like, we could sync up for like 15, 20 minutes, zip through that stuff and just do a separate one for the...
yeah, because I don't want to obviously waste your time either, but equally, it's kind of late at night, and I don't want to,
No, I think
I'm
you meant...
special up for both people, I think.
Well, it's different. I think the nature of our calls is a little different because a lot of it is private stuff.
Yeah.
To do with
So I kind of felt that.
issues with the local council and
Yeah.
teams that we wouldn't want to necessarily...
Yeah.
I think it would be an invasion of their
So
privacy.
either maybe possibly from the local council we do a monthly summary. We already do that with team reports, but maybe on a fortnightly basis I can just fire on this and stuff that
Yeah.
we've done, and then we can just Skype, Google Plus or something afterwards, and if you have any queries or questions, that might be there, because especially I'm really keen on the twinning stuff this cycle to kind of get everybody on board and on board about this,
Yeah.
and to kind of keep the ball going about this, so that would be kind of cool.
What I would appreciate from everyone here is if you do ever see anybody kind of, that might not be as blunt about it, but if you see anybody kind of inferring that a call with me or anyone of our team is somehow something to boast about, just say, like, we think it's completely uncool to boast about calls with us.
I'm
Like,
usually in
just,
bed at 10 p.m. going, good night, Jonathan. It's not a perk.
Me, man, I get enough of you.
John, personally, if someone's like, you've got a call with John, oh, interesting. John has got a call with me.
yeah. Spin around. I'm fine if people spin around
Yeah,
that way.
just
I don't
like,
care.
you know what?
On the other hand,
Me and Mark
around is-
talk.
works, but then other people that still kind of in some ways reinforces an elite, which I think is what we're trying to not
Yeah.
do.
It's like every cycle I get to ask Mark a question.
I just like to say that.
Because I think that is kind of, in some ways, part of the issue, is those people who believe that there is an elite and that everything has to go to the elite. Yeah. Liz and I were talking, and Laura, I think, were talking about this earlier, about a few people who just, it's a big deal for them to have to, or to be able to talk to someone who's a company head or something like that.
It's so lame.
It really is.
It really is so lame. It's like, come on, get a life.
But I don't know.
Jeez.
It's like,
Serious. I mean, everyone needs a dream, but...
it's kind of giving people like titles as well. It's just like, do you really need to do yourself a title? You know who you are.
Yeah.
Knock it off.
I want to be the VP of the community at Canonical.
I think that should be an unpaid position. All
Hey, I've already got pretty much nearly an unpaid position as it is. All right, so should we move on to the...
I have to jet to Cobbler, so I'm going to bail. Sorry, folks.